Welcome to r/Am I the Butthole, where OP has an insufferable sister-in-law who thinks she's an influencer. Am I the butthole for losing my cool and yelling at my influencer sister-in-law over her constant filming and lack of respect for my daughter's boundaries? I have a 13-year-old daughter, Sally. My sister-in-law has two boys, ages 8 and 11, who are deep into the Canadian hockey/baseball travel tournament lifestyle. She's a stay-at-home mom and went down the Instagram/TikTok family lifestyle influencer rabbit hole. Over the last year, she's leaned hard into the hockey mom thing by posting hotel reviews, game pics, and travel tips. She wants to turn her page into a full family brand. When her boys were younger, she used to say she wished she had a daughter to do girly things with. I included her in a few things with Sally, like picking out her first communion dress. Back then, my sister-in-law was sweet, supportive, and genuinely the cool aunt. Lately, every family thing has become content. She films things, stages candid moments, narrates like she's vlogging. At Christmas, she tried to dictate the whole day. Gifts, crafts, and movies all became scripted. The older cousins hid in the basement to escape being filmed. Sally later told me she hated being recorded and didn't want to be on my sister-in-law's pages. Apparently, my sister-in-law kept pestering her to braid her hair, decorate cookies, etc. for content. Sally didn't know how to shut it down, so she made herself as un-influencer friendly as possible. Eye rolls, nose picking, etc. Last weekend, we went out for my mom's 70th birthday. My sister-in-law immediately started filming again, making the whole dinner awkward until her partner, my brother, snapped at her to stop. During dinner, Sally mentioned she was going dress shopping for her 8th grade graduation. My sister-in-law lit up and started pushing to come so that she could expand my brand into full family content. I ignored her to discuss after dinner and in private, but she kept pushing. In the parking lot, she asked again for the time and place. I snapped. I told her my daughter is not her prop, not her girl substitute, and she does not have permission to film or post her. She got defensive and said that I was stifling her creativity and that she needs my daughter because she doesn't have one. I told her off, loudly and colorfully. Sally heard, but with two parents who work in construction, she's heard worse. Later, my sister-in-law started a group chat saying that I was rude, mean, and that I embarrassed her, and that everyone posts everything these days. She demanded an apology. I refused and reiterated our boundaries. My siblings backed me up and said they also don't want their kids in her content. My sister-in-law hasn't responded since. I know I raised my voice, but she's ignored every boundary. My priority was protecting Sally's boundaries. Unequivocally, I know that I'm not the butthole for that, and I will never apologize. However, my sister-in-law just doesn't get it. So, am I the butthole for yelling at sister-in-laws in the manner I did? OP, I'm proud of you for sticking up for your daughter, and this seems like a great opportunity to have a sit-down conversation with your daughter about consent. Normally when people talk about consent, it's the whole dating romance context, but it also applies here, and her passive-aggressive way of, picking her nose is probably not the best way to handle it. Not to criticize Sally, I'm just saying, Opie, I think this is just a great opportunity for you to teach Sally that she can say no and then stand behind her words. Am I the butthole for leaving my friend on the side of the road after finding out that she stole nearly $800 from my account? I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I had a friend, Kat, who's 27. We've been close for a while, and I've always been the stable one. I make a decent amount of money and sometimes pay for dinners or shopping trips because I love my friends and enjoy spending time with them. A few months ago, a group of 6 of us met up to plan a 2-week girls trip to New Orleans. We agreed that each of us were to save $1,000 for their portion, and if you couldn't cover your part, you had to back out. We didn't want anyone being uncomfortable or having to pay more than they should. While we were hanging out, Kat asked to borrow my phone and call her boyfriend because hers was dead. She was gone for like 20 minutes, which I thought was weird, but I figured they were just arguing, as usual. Afterwards, she brought my phone back. So recently, I went to send Sherry money for the trip, and I noticed odds amount of money taken, originally thinking that it was just autopay for utilities. But then, after scrolling down, I saw there was $367 sent to a PayPal account. I immediately called my bank and asked if they could tell me more about the charges. It turns out Kat had stolen $783 from me. She had linked my card to cash loading apps like Cash App or PayPal, labeling the transfers as gas or garbage bill. Kat has used my phone plenty of times, so now, looking back at it, she probably did find my login information. Yeah, they're on the Notes app of my phone. Whoops. I told my boyfriend about it, and he was also upset that Kat would do this and wasn't surprised. She does have a tendency to be impulsive and dumb. I was pissed. She was my friend and didn't even take the time to ask me for help. She just decided to steal my money? Why? I wouldn't have done that to her. My boyfriend said that I should confront her right away and demand my money back. I did take some time to think on it, and I invited her to go shopping for new outfits for the trip. Of course, Kat accepted my invitation and I picked her up from her house. We talked like normal, work and boyfriend stuff. At first, I was just trying to see if she would admit it when it was just us two. But while we were looking around in the stores, I made sure to bring up that I didn't have enough money to spend a bunch on clothes to see how she'd react. She just kept saying, "It's okay, I can pay for my own." Kat isn't broke either, by the way. Just sometimes I offer to pay for her stuff too. On the drive back, I did mention that my bank had flagged my account for fraud, and that would make it more difficult for me to get money for the trip. Then I asked if she could help cover my portion of the trip since she's my friend and I would owe her big time. Kat was blunt and kinda rude. She told me she wasn't comfortable giving me money and told me that the group rule was, if you can't pay, you can't go. Of course she says this, damn well knowing she stole money from me. I snapped at her and said that I knew everything. She tried to deny it, then started her ugly crying. If that's rude, oh well. Claiming her boyfriend wouldn't help her and her hours at work were cut. I told her our friendship was over, and she either pays me back, all of it, or I go to the cops. She kept screaming and crying, but I wasn't buying it. We weren't too far from her place at all. I pulled over near a public bus stop that had an indoor seating area and charging station, so I knew she'd be fine if she went in or not. Still, it was like 10 minutes from her house. I told her to get out and call her boyfriend. Kat yelled at me and smacked me in the face before getting out. She slammed the door and I flipped her off and drove away. She's been blowing up my phone, calling me a B-word and anything she could for leaving her on the side of the road. Anyways, me and the other girl still went to New Orleans. One of my friends paid for my portion. I'll pay her back though. I've since involved the authorities and we're going to court to settle the money. Yeah, small claims. She kept having her boyfriend message me to apologize, but I've blocked his number. Some people in our extended circle think that me dropping her off on the side of the road, even though it really wasn't, was somehow dangerous regardless of what she did. Clearly, they got their information from her. Right, okay. So she stole from you, lied about it, and then smacked you in the face, and you're supposed to do her favors? Give her a free lift around town? Give me an effing break, man. Who are these people who take her side? OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your thieving friend 2.5 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for fixing my daughter's car when her boyfriend said that he'd handle it? My daughter is 21, and I've always been pretty close with her. She moved in with her boyfriend a couple of months ago. It was a little tough seeing her move out, but I know that she's an adult and building her own life. She drives an old Corolla with a lot of miles on it. A couple of weeks ago, she mentioned the steering wheel had started shaking when she got up to highway speeds, and sometimes the front end would shudder when she braked. She told me her boyfriend said that he would take care of it. Another week went by, and it still hadn't been looked at. Last weekend, she came by my place and said that it was getting worse, and it was starting to make her nervous to drive. So I took it for a quick drive, and sure enough, the wheel was shaking pretty good around 60 miles per hour, and it shuddered when I hit the brakes. I pulled the front wheels off in the driveway, and it was pretty obvious the front brake rotors were warped and the brake pads were worn unevenly. I ran to the parts store, grabbed new rotors and pads, and swapped them out that afternoon. It took a couple of hours, and after that, the car drove smoothly again. My daughter was really happy and thanked me a bunch. To me, it wasn't a big deal. I've worked on cars most of my life, and she's my kid. A few days later, she and her boyfriend came over for dinner. At one point, her boyfriend pulled me aside and told me I shouldn't have fixed the car. He said it was his responsibility as her boyfriend to handle that kind of thing, and that by doing it myself, I stepped on his toes. I told him I wasn't trying to prove anything. The car was getting worse, and I just fixed it while she was there. Since then, he's been pretty short with me, and the vibe has been a little weird. My daughter says that he feels like I undermined him. From my point of view, she's still my daughter, and if something on her car is unsafe and I can fix it in the afternoon, I'm going to. The top comment puts this very well. Red flags to me, he's more concerned about how he looks than your daughter's safety. I would honestly suggest that she think about what other ways he tries to control her. Yeah, exactly. The boyfriend said it's his responsibility. Well, then do it. The guy had a week. Plus, if you need to fix a car and your girlfriend's dad is a mechanic, you kinda have to know that you're up against the clock here, right? OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. You're just being a good dad. I'm giving the boyfriend 1 out of 5 buttholes for being jealous and controlling, and I'm also giving the daughter 1 out of 5 buttholes because it seems like she's taking the boyfriend's side when she put you in the situation in the first place. Am I the butthole for yelling at the parents of a kid that I babysat because they didn't tell me what I thought was an important thing until the last minute? I'm a 20-year-old woman, and I babysat for my neighbors over the weekend. I took care of their 9-year-old daughter while they were out of town. They left on Friday and got back today, and they asked me if I wanted to babysit their daughter, who's 9, on the Wednesday before, and I said yes because their daughter is very sweet and cute, and I didn't think there would be any issues. They were happy to give me the job, and it all seemed fine. But then on Friday, I went to their house shortly before they left, and they went over all the typical rules and stuff, and that's when the mom, at the last minute, explained to me that the daughter still wets the bed every night and wears diapers for it. Not pull-ups, diapers. She said that she diapers her daughter every night at bedtime, and I would have to do the same for her while I was babysitting. This really caught me off guard, and I asked the mom, couldn't the daughter put the diaper on herself? But she made it very clear the daughter could not put the diaper on herself. They left shortly after, and I took care of their daughter as planned. I was nervous at first since I hadn't ever diapered a kid older than 4, but it worked out fine. I just diapered her and put her to bed, no big deal. But it still really annoyed me that they just dumped that information on me at the last minute. And when they got back today, I was pretty mad and I kinda snapped. I told the mom that it was a real butthole-ish and irresponsible thing to do to not tell me I'd have to diaper a 9-year-old until the last minute. She said that she was sorry and didn't think that it was that big of a deal since she's just a kid and we're both girls, and asked me if there were any problems. I told her there weren't any problems, but it was still wrong and irresponsible to not tell me something that big until the last minute. I could tell that she felt bad, and I left without us ever really making up. But I still said goodbye to the daughter with a big hug and a kiss. But now I feel kinda bad because I clearly hurt the mom's feelings, and there weren't any issues. So I feel like I kinda made her feel bad for nothing. They're a very sweet family, and I've lived in my neighborhood for years, and my family and me love them, so I feel bad about snapping. So I realize a lot of my listeners may not have much experience with kids, so maybe you don't know how strange it is that a 9-year-old can't put on her own diapers, but for context, when my daughter was 4, she was able to put on her own diaper, so I don't understand why a 9-year-old wouldn't be able to do it. I feel like there's something fishy going on here. Let me tell you, as a parent, diaper duty is one of the chores you look forward to saying goodbye to forever. So I don't understand why the parents of this kid are going out of their way to put the diaper on herself, not give her pull-ups? Unless the kid is somehow, extremely disabled, which I feel like OP probably would have mentioned. There's something fishy going on here. OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. That was r/Am I the Butthole, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.